I pray you receive the man who wants to love you, not just use you. And the reality is that there is a man out there for you. There is a man who wants to cherish you, honor you, and is going to fall deeply in love with you. And I want you to know what the signs are when he is that man and he has reached that point. My name is Stephan, aka Stephan Speaks, back from another relationship and dating advice video. And today we're going to be talking about the signs he's in love with you. Before we start, as always, be sure to like this video, share it, subscribe to this channel, and leave your comments below. Let me know what you think are some of the signs that he's in love with you. So let's get to it, all right? Again, some of you may be a little bit jaded when it comes to love and relationships, but it exists. It's out there. You can have it. You have to believe it to receive it. But again, I think part of the problem is some of you don't believe it, and some of you, when a man that does love you is in front of your face, you don't know how to recognize it. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of questioning. There's a lot of things where you're projecting negativity onto the situation because it's hard to be vulnerable and fully embrace it. But again, I want to lay it out for you to make it a little bit easier. Now, as always, I have to always mention, of course, there's exceptions to the rule. And there's going to be some scenarios where, yes, men can do these things I'm about to list, and he's playing games. But it is very unlikely, or it's not as likely as you think it is, that he's going to do all these things and not be a man who truly loves you. So let's get to it. Number one on the list is he is willing, or he wants to provide for you. So I'm a huge believer in men being protectors and providers. And I believe in that because I do strongly feel that is the dynamic that's going to help create a very successful relationship. But also, I'm a firm believer that when a man is truly in love with you, he wants to give. He wants to take care of you. He wants to pour into you in so many different ways. Now, we have to understand that not every man, at least at the point in time that they have met you and fallen in love, will have the same amount of resources. So his ability to provide may be limited, but his willingness and desire will still be there. So when he's in love and he doesn't have it, he's going to either want to compensate by doing other things that pour into you and provide, because providing isn't just financially. Please understand that it's emotionally, it's physically, it's all the ways to ensure that you are good, you are happy, and that you are pleased with him. All right. So he will either want to find those other ways to compensate, or he is going to be even more inspired to now accomplish more and to acquire more so he can give more. And that's the thing. Like, no man who's in love with a woman doesn't want to give to her. And so I always say, and you heard me mention in the previous video about the red flags to look out for in men. If a man has money or has resources and he is unwilling to provide for you, or he is doing the dreaded let's go 50-50, all right? I will tell you right now, that man's not in love. I'm not saying that every man who has it is going to want to just pay all the bills and make sure not a dime comes out of your pocket. There will be some variances in what his principles are financially, but he will have no problem taking on a greater burden. He will have no problem putting more on his plate than yours financially and in other ways to, again, ensure that he provides for you. So that's something to pay attention to, because and we see it even in little kids, like a little boy, let's say, or high school or whatever. He's in love with a girl. He's trying to scrape up whatever money he can to get her a gift or to do things. That's how men are when they're really into a woman. Even when it's not genuine love, when he's that deeply into a woman, he wants to give to her. So his willingness or desire to provide for you is definitely a sign he's in love with you. The second sign that he's in love with you is that he's willing to make sacrifices, and he becomes more open-minded to the things that you like. So first, let's start with sacrifices. Again, you have to understand that men who are not serious about a woman, they're trying to get more for less, all right? The idea of compromise, sacrifice, providing. These are things that do not translate or they're not embraced by the man who's just looking to have fun or who's not serious about you. But on the flip side, the man who does embrace those things. And so now he's more willing to sacrifice his time. Now he's more willing to sacrifice his finances. He's more willing to make adjustments to, again, ensure that you have what you need or to make sure that you're good. All right. He's more willing to go above and beyond. And that's what happens when we make sacrifices. We're essentially going above and beyond. Now, listen, let me make something clear. I don't encourage or push the idea of sacrifices to the extent of depleting yourself and now you're unhappy and miserable. And I push that message to both men and women. We are supposed to pour into each other, and yes, there will be moments of sacrifice. But now when you find yourself constantly sacrificing to where you're losing yourself, now you've crossed the line too far. All right. And I just had to mention that because many people do get caught up. They get so caught up in their love or their belief of being in love with this person that they go way past the line of sacrifice to where now it becomes unhealthy and toxic for the relationship. But going back to the original point, yes, he is willing to be more flexible, to bend more in that area, to accommodate you more in that area. But now also, as I mentioned, he is more open-minded to the things that you like. So, for example, let's just say he doesn't like, I don't know why this is coming to my mind because I had a previous client. Anyways, he doesn't like dancing. All right. He's not a big on going out dancing, but you love dancing and he loves you. So now he's a little bit more willing to at least try it. He's a little bit more willing to go. Even if he's not all into it, he wants to be there for you. All right. It could be even the foods that you like to eat. He's a little bit more willing. Now, listen, some things, some people are just not going to be for. For example, maybe you love jumping out of airplanes and he's like, hell no, I ain't jumping out of a damn airplane. I love you, but that's not my thing. Okay, so there's a line that some people aren't going to cross in certain things. But again, what you will notice with the man who's truly in love with you and truly in love with any woman is that he is now more willing to be open-minded, to consider it, to give it a try. You know what I'm saying? To find the middle ground to, again, make you happy. That's what it's all about because loving is about giving. It's about pouring into the other. And that's what a man who loves you will do. Now let's move on to number 3. Number 3 on the list of signs he's in love with you is that he does not intentionally hurt you. Now, you notice I stress the word intentionally. Let me break this down, okay? Because here's the unfortunate reality. No matter how much a man loves you, no matter how much anybody loves you, there's a very good chance that at some point in life they will hurt you. Because we're human, we make mistakes. We may have missed the mark in understanding the moment, understanding how certain things affect you. There's just a lot of things that can create a dynamic where, yes, this individual unknowingly or unintentionally hurts you. Very different from the man or person who knows something is a problem, who knows this is disrespectful to you, who knows this is mistreatment towards you, and does it anyway. Someone who you've expressed your concerns to, you've let them know this does not work for you or it hurts you, and yet they do it anyway. And many of you have dealt with men who did not give a damn about your feelings. And yes, who blatantly, intentionally would try to hurt you or did hurt you. But the man who loves you is not trying to ever do that. Again, he may make mistakes without understanding the issue. He may not understand where, I can't think of an example at the moment, but little things here and there that could trigger you that he just doesn't get yet. But I tell you this, that man is going to always be willing to at least hear you out. Make sure you come at him the right way. I always have to throw that in because some of you may feel like, well, if he did me wrong or your perception of he did you wrong in that moment, now in your mind may validate coming at him the wrong way. But that never makes someone receptive to you. Love or not, that can cause people to shut down. So you have to make sure that you gather yourself and express yourself calmly and lovingly as to what the problem was. And the man who does love you will be open to that, will be receptive, and be willing to make the necessary adjustments. So again, he's never trying to blatantly do it. He's never looking for ways to put you in a negative place or a negative mindset. And when you start to notice a guy who does that, because there are plenty of situations where I've seen men dealing with women and they like to basically poke the bear. They like getting under your skin. Not even in a playful, not saying that the playful way is healthy, but in a very I was going to use the word demonic, in a very devious, this negative, dangerous way. It's not good. So you got to pay attention to that. And again, but when he loves you, he's not doing all that. Which perfectly brings me to number 4. And number 4 sign that he's in love with you is that he's willing to apologize. One thing I can say with a lot of confidence is when a man truly loves a woman, he throws a little bit of his pride out the window. He's much more willing to humble himself. All right. Now, something's hitting my spirit, so I have to mention it. Some of you may be married or in long-term relationships right now. And you may have had a man who initially was humbling himself, was willing to apologize. And over time, he seems to have now developed issues with pride, unwilling to apologize. And now you're saying, well, he's not in love with me, or maybe he never was. Please understand the difference between a hardened heart and a heart that was never given to you. Okay? Some men, again, from the beginning, were never serious about you. Some men have taken a left turn due to the toxic energy and unhealthiness of the relationship. And so you want to identify, if you're dealing with a man who may be currently doing that, ask yourself, but was he on the right side of things initially? Was there a point that he was doing it right? If there was, then there's at least an argument to make that there's hope that you can correct this, that there is things that can be addressed to bring it back to the good times. And that would be the first step. If, though, you would recognize it as, no, this joker was never okay like this. He always was prideful. He was never apologizing. He was never humbling himself. All right, you just may be in the wrong relationship. Not even maybe, you probably are in the wrong relationship. There's probably nothing to fix. I would still say address the issue first, because that's what I believe in. But understand that there's less likely of a chance of anything changing when this man was always like that versus the man who started off that way, and through time and battles that you guys may have had in a relationship for various reasons, it may have hardened his heart, but it can be softened back up. So now back to the original point of he's willing to apologize. Yes, I will say that again, when he's in love with you, especially in those that initial phase, that earlier part of the relationship or that dating process, he's much more willing to apologize as long as, again, you bring forth your grievance. You let him know how you feel. But I have to say it again. You've got to express yourself in a positive and loving manner. You can't come at him the wrong way. You can't come at him disrespectful, but expect him to maintain his poise and to handle it accordingly. He should, and I would encourage any man to still keep their composure in that situation. But we all have a role to play in creating positive, healthy communication and increasing the chances of our partners receiving what we have to say. But with that, yes, with that said, he's definitely willing to apologize. He's definitely willing to correct the issue. He's flat out willing to hear you out, because that's what love makes a man do. That's what love makes anyone do. All right. So always be mindful of that and pay attention to that very important sign. All right. So now let's get to number 5 on this list. And number 5 is he opens up to you and he lets you into his world. So again, when you are dealing with men who are not serious about you, they're not trying to typically bring you into their world. They're not trying to open up. They're not trying to integrate you into the other aspects of their life. They're trying to even minimize you meeting people if possible. Hell, in some situations, flat out hide you. But the man who loves you is a completely opposite of that. He wants to bring you into his world. He wants the people he loves to meet you. All right. He wants to show you off, essentially, because when he's in love with you and he thinks that highly of you, he wants the world to see he's proud of you. He's proud of this woman that he's been able to now meet and have this experience with. All right. And he wants to share that with others in his life. But again, he's also willing to open up emotionally to you. He's willing to, and let me be clear. When I say open up emotionally, it still may be a slight struggle as far as how deeply and how quickly we open up, right? But what's clear as day to me is this, and this is especially or even more importantly true when he is typically a man who doesn't open up at all. He's going to give you more than he gives others. That's the key here. All right. Now, of course, I'm an encourager of fully opening up and getting to that place where you both can be fully emotionally naked with each other. All right. Because that's what we need to have the true nurturing of the love that's there and to allow the relationship to flourish. But it's a struggle for some people because some people still haven't healed in certain ways, or they may be hesitant due to past experiences. And so it may be slowly, but it's surely happening. It's moving forward. And again, he gives you more than he gives others. Now, that may not always be clear to you because you may not know how he operates with others. But typically, if when a man says something like, damn, I tell you things I don't tell anybody else, that typically is true. Again, are there some liars and manipulators out there? Yes. But that's why you always have to consider the totality of the situation. If he's been amazing in all other ways, if you're seeing these other signs I mentioned, and then he says something like that, there's no reason to question that he's lying at that moment. Take him for his word. He probably is. He's trying to let you know, I view you as someone special. And so I tell you more than I tell others. He wants to make that clear. He wants you to understand how important you are to him, how much he loves you, and why he is willing to go that far emotionally with you. All right. So again, don't think, oh, no, he just said that to everybody. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. As long as everything else is showing itself to be great, there's no reason to undermine that moment with negative thoughts. But he is going to give you more than he gives others. He's going to be willing to be more open about his dreams, his thoughts, see and speak about his future with you. All right. How you fit into that life. All these things is shows or are signs of a man who's genuinely in love with you.